Welcome to episode 2 of the K&A Bible podcast. So, Austin, a couple of days now after episode 1, I've come to the realization that we didn't introduce ourselves last episode. So, without further ado, I am Caden Summers. I am the co-host of the K&A Football podcast, and this is Austin Obrisky, the other co-host of the K&A Football podcast. So, make sure you go follow that on your own time. Very beneficial podcast for you guys. But we're here for episode 2. We're going to be talking about Acts chapter 3 and 4. It should be a fun time. This is K&A Bible. All right, so Austin, what is on the books for today?
Well, today is Acts chapters 3 and 4. Chapter 3 deals mainly with Peter healing the crippled beggar, and Ross has informed us that this is what he's going to be focusing the bulk of his sermon on. So this is a very important section, so all of you out there, please pay attention.
Yeah, Travis, get off your phone. We know you're playing Crossy Road, so focus up, pay attention here.
Exactly. So in chapter 3, the title is Peter Heals the Crippled Beggar. So, Caden, do you want to go ahead and summarize that one for us?
Sure. So, like you had said, Ross is kind of focusing most of his sermon on this. So, Ross, I'm not going to steal your thunder. I'll let Ross cook here, but I'll just briefly summarize it. So, there's a crippled beggar who's been crippled since birth, and he's at the temple, and he's begging for money from people going in, and he sees Peter and John, and he asks them for money, to which Peter responds and says, "Look, I don't have any money, but I can give you something better." And he reaches his hand down and he says, "In the name of Jesus, get up and walk." And he stands up and boom, he can walk. Bro starts walking. He's healed. He starts celebrating and he's no longer crippled, which was kind of a W.
Right. And then after that, people are asking about like what is going on there. And Peter, at the end of 3, gives a whole speech to the crowd, saying, this is why I did what I did. This is who Jesus is. And he starts preaching. And then it goes into chapter 4, where the Sanhedrin are obviously a little bit upset about that. There's a reason that I'm the one that said Sanhedrin. Caden isn't allowed to say big words. He's been banned from big word duty. So the Sanhedrin are a little bit upset that Peter has been preaching the gospel, preaching the good news of Christ. And so they bring him before the council. And they're like, "Hey, don't say these things anymore. We don't like it very much." And Peter's like, "No." And towards the end of 4 in chapter 13, Sanford, a couple weeks ago, said that this was his favorite verse. So shout out to Sanford for a prerequisite to 4:13.
And shout out to Austin for remembering that. Very elite memory from Austin there, I'm not going to lie.
So 4:13 says, "When they saw the courage of Peter and John and realized that they were unschooled ordinary men, they were astonished, and they took note that these men had been with Jesus." Ross wanted us to really point that out because it's important for us to be an example to other people, that everyone always looks at us and says, they have been with Jesus. They are followers of Christ.
Yeah, whether that be at school, whether that be at work with your coworkers, or whether that be on your football podcast that you have that everyone listens to. So Peter and John, they leave the Sanhedrin, and all the other believers there pray for boldness, and they pray as believers together. And then they all leave, and they share their possessions with the poor, and they go out and they share their faith with others. And it's overall a happy end to chapter 4. Chapter 5, not as happy, but we'll cover that next week. So thank you for listening to episode 2 of K&A Bible. Hopefully this was a little less cringe for Austin and I, and we're not folding in our seats in the front. But yeah, I hope you had fun. Now we will let Ross cook.